Look at this, friends. Look at what God says about this. Okay, let's go look at it so that you can follow me and be with me based on what Scripture says. Look at what Peter says about this. God revealed this to Peter. Okay, look at this. Now, pay close attention to what Peter says. Close attention to what he says. But the day of the Lord. Now, question for you. Please tell me, what is that? Do you know? According to the scriptures, don't guess. Please don't guess. Because you're going to guess wrong. I would guess wrong. What does the book say? Do you know? If you don't know what that right there is, automatically, everything else that you read after that, you're going to have the wrong answer. Why? Because it starts off with the day of the Lord. That's the whole context. That's what he's talking about. So the first thing you have to figure out is, what in the world is that? And then the rest of this is going to make sense to you. So let me help you. What's the day of the Lord? The day of the Lord is the tribulation, the 7 years of tribulation, and the millennium, the whole entire period. Got it? That's the day of the Lord. So how long is the day of the Lord? Approximately 1,007 years. Why do you say approximately, Kevin? Shouldn't you know? No, not necessarily. Why? Because I don't know for certain how much time is going to be elapsed between the rapture and the start of that 7 year period. The Bible doesn't say that. Just like the Bible never told us the difference between the Old Testament. Let's go back to the big board so you can see. So there's a lapse in time, day of the Lord. So we got the day of the Lord. Right? So we have, here's a timeline. So we have the Old Testament and we have the book of Malachi, right? Between the Old Testament and the New Testament, there was a 400 years. Now, you tell me, where do we find this 400-year period written anywhere in scriptures? You don't. It's not there. So if somebody would have told you that the Old Testament, and between that and the New Testament, there will be a 400-year period. Say, well, where you find it? You don't. Now, keep in mind that until we get to the resurrection, the New Testament don't start. So don't be fooled by this monkey ear of New Testament. Okay, you got to have the resurrection. Jesus must die and be raised. But yet we now know, based on Scripture, that we're going to have this 50 days, right, before the church. So Kevin, how you know that? Because it goes back to the Old Testament feast that God gave to um, Israel. So with Jesus dying, that's the Day of Atonement. So you have this Day of Atonement that comes here, right? And again, folks, this is going back to the Old Testament, the Israel, the feast. And then what do you have here with this 50 days? Pentecost. Pentecost. So that's the death, burial, resurrection of Jesus Christ, and that's the birth of the church, Pentecost, 50 days afterwards. So that lines up, but nowhere do we find the 400 years. So when we look at the day of the Lord, when you look at the church, so you got the church age, then in line with that, next you have, of course, you have the rapture up here, right, where the church goes up. Next thing you have is the 7 year period of the tribulation. And then the next thing you have is this 1,000 year period called the millennium. Well, Daniel tells us about this 75 days between these two periods right here. There's a 75 days. Something happened. Based on the scriptures, we can demise or think of it this way, that it's Matthew 25 that's taking place in that 75-day period. Then we go into the millennium, and from there we go into eternity, the final age. So what do I mean about eternity? What I mean by eternity, I mean here. We go into the new world. So what is this? This is God's new world. Now, let's go read Peter. With that in mind, let's go read what Peter says. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night. The start of the tribulation is going to come as a thief in the night. In which what? The heavens will pass away with a great noise, and the elements of the heavens will melt with fervent heat. So what first thing that takes place at the end of the tribulate of the millennium? The heavens pass away right here. Okay? That's what Peter said. So we find that in Peter. Peter tells us that the heaven is going to pass. Now, not the heaven. Peter said heavens. Keep that in mind. With a great noise, elements will melt with fervent heat. Now, if the heavens have elements, what did that tell you? It's a real place. Both, now look at what he says. Both the earth and the works. What's the works of the earth? You say, is the mountain great? No, man. Ain't no mountains. It's sins. God is destroying sins. Everything that's sin, everything that's wrought in this world outside of the righteous acts of the believers are sin. All of it is going to be burned up. Everything that sin produces is going to be burned up. Therefore, since all these things will be dissolved, what manner of person you ought to be in holy conduct? Why? Because that's the only thing that's going to survive this stuff right here. What's going to survive out of the works of heavens and out of the works of the earth? Holy conduct and godliness. That's it. All the unholy conduct and ungodliness is going to dissolve. Do you see that? The works or the behavior survives this burning, but everything the behaviors produce, which is sinful works, the product. How do I know that? Go to Revelation 17. The religious works are destroyed with Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. Then in Revelation 18, the actual physical works of materialism is destroyed. That's how we can be assured. So, Kevin, what in the world are you talking about? I'm sorry. I'm talking from a place of understanding what this is talking about. And I need you to follow me. This is why I go to all the different scriptures to show you these things so that you won't be thinking I'm just talking randomly out of my head. I'm not. So let's go look at it.